Welcome everyone to the next episode of Poker Media Australia podcast. I'm the managing editor of Poker Media Australia, Ben Blaschke. Joining us today, special guest, Angelica from the World Poker Tour. Lovely to have you. How are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you guys going?
We're going well. We're going well. Now, for everybody out there who may or may not know you, Angelica, you of course run global tour operations for the WPT.
I do. I am the manager of chaos for the World Poker Tour.
And
that's what we'd like to say.
Probably the right word for 2022, I'd say. Too.
Yes, yes. It certainly is. It's to say that it's been quite challenging is an understatement. I think not only for our industry, but all global industries worldwide. So, yeah, that's for sure.
And just tell us a little bit about your year. I mean, you obviously moved back to Melbourne to be with family, and really haven't been able to this year. What's 2020 been like for you?
Yeah, it's the biggest irony, right? With my family and I, Ozzy. I think you guys are familiar with him. And our two little boys. We've lived in the US for more than a decade. And so for them, really, that's been their home. But we made the transition to come back here in Melbourne earlier this year, with the sole intention of spending more quality time with family and friends. And so, lo and behold, you can imagine our absolute distress and being disheartened that we haven't been able to really spend any time with family, especially. So, yeah, that's a bummer for sure.
What do you think about? I mean, obviously Melbourne's had the toughest restrictions in Australia. It had the second wave, so it was quite a dramatic outbreak.
Yeah.
But now you're starting to come out of it. I think 10 to 15 cases the past week or two each day. I mean, you look globally though, back in the US where you were, we're still talking thousands and thousands of cases every day.
Sure.
Do you feel a little bit, lucky that you're at least in Australia where things look like they're going to be relatively okay in the short term?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a blessing because we moved here just before the pandemic hit really worldwide. So talk about timing. So many things in life, in business and in personal life, it's all about the timing. And so Oz and I got that one really right. And obviously California, where we lived, experienced like one of the worst bushfire seasons. And again, as Aussies, we're quite familiar with that, catastrophe. But we managed to avoid, massive cases over in the US, the California bushfires. And so maybe I've called out my one time. I had two times, that we got lucky here. But yeah.
And for those who may not be familiar with your work with the WPT, can you just give us a bit of a background as to your career in the poker and gaming industry and how you got into the role?
Couple of decades ago, I actually started my career over in at Crown Casino in Melbourne. That's where really I cut my teeth in the gaming industry. I was a dealer at the time, and I was combining uni with work, and I was fortunate enough to get a position that allowed a degree of flexibility that allowed me to do both. And so can't remember the year because it's been a couple of decades, but I think it was the first year that Party Poker was the sponsor of the Aussie Millions. And so I was the liaison between Party and Crown. And so just over breakfast, my then boss said, Ange, how do you feel like, what do you think of moving to Gibraltar and join the team? And then in my head, I was like, where the hell is Gibraltar? Like, I've never heard of that place before. But of course, outwardly, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Sign me up. And so Oz and I moved there. I think it was back in 2005, 2006. We hung around over in, we lived in Spain because Spain was the border town that shared a border with Gibraltar. And so we lived there for, a good several years. And then we decided to get married. And as you know, Oz is Australian, but of Turkish descent. And so we knew that if we got married there with no, family, he would have been disowned by the community. So we headed back over to Melbourne, but en route to there, did a consultancy gig with Asian Logic, which is the parent company of Asia Poker Tour. So I spent a little bit of time with them there. And then moved back to Melbourne, got married. And then Ozzy got a job offer with Mangus Gaming, BetClick Poker. And their headquarters at the time was in London. So we packed up our bags again and bang, shipped over to London. And then I didn't really plan to work. I was just going to pop out some kids and, be a British Museum snob, just check out all the culture and everything that London had to offer. And then 3 or 4 months in, I was offered a job over with the World Poker Tour. And so since early 2010, I've been with the WPT family ever since.
Of course, the WPT family doesn't just rest with you. Of course, Lynn Gilmartin, the Hall of Famer and the WPT anchor, but also Danny McDonough as well. He's doing great work over in the Asian circuit there.
Yes.
It seems that the WPT has an affinity for Aussies. What do you think? What do you think attracts them so much?
But it's like this really funny joke internally, right? Like WPT is such a massive global brand, and so you would think that there's like hundreds of employees and everything like that. So it's a very small company, and the fact that there are three all Aussies and all come from Melbourne. I don't know, maybe there's something in the water that just produces these kinds of people. But I think it's the Australianness. I think there's something to be said about that. And I'm not just saying it because I'm Aussie. I've been told this. Like, I lived there for a long time. And I think the Americans just, just have a fondness for us, the really casual, laid back attitude. We don't take things too seriously. And, we know how to have a good laugh and, have more than a beer or two. So I think it really resonates with them.
I have a theory that all good poker employees or people working in the casino industry around the region all began their careers as a dealer at either Crown or West Point. Definitely got to be one of those two.
It's true. It's so true. Well, Lynn came from Crown. She did a stint over there. Danny's been there. He really was was one of the key personnel that grew poker in Australia. So yeah, I think that's probably a prerequisite that people aren't saying.
So under normal circumstances, Ange, do the three Aussies get together and give hell to the Americans and talk your Aussie lingo? And
oh my God, it's like, I know this from Lynn as well, right? So when we're around Americans, of course we can't get rid of the accent. You just have that, right? But I do know that we kind of tone it down, because if it's really thick and you speak really fast, they don't understand you and stuff. So over time, I think both of us have just subconsciously just done that way. But when the three of us are together, oh my God, like, you should really just put a camera there, because I doubt many people outside of Australia will understand that. So it becomes like a real, comedy of some sort. But yeah, it's freaking fun when the three of us are together. I tell you what, probably not for all public consumption, let's just put it that way. But yeah, it's awesome for sure.
It brings us to a good question though, Ange, in that, with such Australianness within the World Poker Tour, it took so long for the World Poker Tour to hold its first ever event in Australia, which happened last year, I believe.
Right. It was not for lack of trying. I tell you that, it really wasn't. I think even before I joined, back in 2010, there was some efforts to have, to put the event flag. The show was, I think it was on Fox. I think it was airing, or maybe it was like a free-to-air TV over here. So we had some footprint on the TV front. The episodes were airing here, but in terms of the actual, an event, a physical live offline event, yeah, that didn't happen until very recently. But now that we're here, I thought we would have so many more, but this thing happened, and now we have to wait until, fingers crossed, hopefully April of next year over at the Star Gold Coast.
What have been, Ange, the biggest challenges for you guys this year? Obviously, having to cancel or postpone events, as every tour operator has had to do this year. Yeah. What has been the main challenges in having to do that?
Our last event over in Asia was mid-Feb over at WPT Philippines, and at that time it was kind of circulating in the region, and I thought, okay, let's keep a close eye on this one and see where where it could go. And then obviously early March in the US we had our last event over at Thunder Valley in March. In Europe we had it in Amsterdam again early March. And as you said, Ben, we've had a series of, we were supposed to have 60 plus global events this season all around the world. And now, many of them were either postponed or, or canceled. Life is very funny because, since then we've been fortunate to have a series of online and offline events. So in April, in May, we hosted an event with Party Poker, an online festival. And then in June, I don't know if you guys know this, but we've not had a footprint on the online space, an RMG affiliation since UEGA happened. And, we partnered with RAW, which is the joint venture between GVC and MGM Resorts Corporation. So we hosted our first event with them back in June over in New Jersey. At the time, that was the largest prize pool in Party Poker NJ New Jersey history, which was really nice. July was a quiet month for us, nothing online and offline. And then in August, we had our very first offline event over in Tokyo. And that was really nice because we didn't know what was going to happen. Like, we were the first major tour to have gone into that live space. And we were like, what is this going to look like? And even at the time, it was also the first time ever that we partnered with a mainstream sponsor. We partnered with Sega Sammy, who is, the Sonic the Hedgehog people. And so there's a lot of pressure. And funnily enough, it was the largest WPT Japan event that we had, which was really, really nice. We got 726 entries there. And then in August, we kicked off the WPT Online Championship with Party Poker. That's just recently concluded. And man, I mean, that really set milestones for the company, over $100 million in prize pools, 94 countries participating across the entire festival. It's just massive. It's just unfathomable. And that was a really, really, massive achievement for us. This month, we'll be having an offline event over in South Africa. Also going to be partnering with ADA 52, who, as you guys know, we've traditionally hosted events with them over in Goa, but this time around we're going to take it online. And then in December, fingers crossed, we're going to have another offline event over in Taiwan, which is super exciting because we've never been to Taiwan before. So it's really as challenging as this year has been. We've just been so fortunate to have a mixture of online and offline events that not have been possible if we didn't have these awesome global online and offline partners.
I guess the planning process for all these events at the moment, and is very much wait and see month to month how the world is progressing.
Yeah, for sure, Ben. I mean, look, the big challenges that we have now, and obviously when I talk about this, I paint it with the brush with the global paintbrush, right? Beforehand, we just normally dealt with obviously the casino partners, and then we dealt with the gaming commissions and that sort of stuff. But as the months, progress, not only are we just dealing with local regulators, but federally and state level as well in each of the country we're in. And you can just imagine the mammoth task that's involved. And it's constantly evolving, right? Like, a country would give the health and safety rules that we all have to follow. And then next week could be completely different. So yeah, to your point, it's, I think that's really been key challenge. The ever evolving situation. You plan for something, and then when that happens, now you not only do you have to have plan A, plan B, plan C, but like, I'm bloody up to plan F. It's tough, but there's a lot of there's just been a lot of uncertainty, and so I really hope that for industry, we hang in there and just ride it out.
You mentioned, we spoke about the fact that WPT came to Australia for WPT Australia at the Star on the Gold Coast. Yeah. Tell me about that event, Ange. I mean, a great location. I've been up there to the property. It's
Yeah,
information from the old Jupiters. Happy
for
with how the
sure.
event went?
Oh my God. I mean, when you wait for something for so long, nearly 20 years, like 19 years of waiting to get in there. And then obviously, as I said before, not for lack of trying, yeah, but to find a partner in the Star Gold Coast like that, to be welcomed. Obviously, I have a little bit of bias. I'm Aussie. I've been trying to get in there for so bloody long, right? So I try to take off those Aussie lenses and just see it for what it is. Pretend you're not Aussie. Pretend that you've not been, trying your butt off to bloody try and get in there and stuff like that. So I took those off, and I'm thinking, man, that property is just world class. Really is. The amenities that it has, the facilities, the proximity to the beach, the location of it. There aren't many casino properties around the world that offer anything along those lines. And again, not saying this because I'm Australian, but the people, like you just get so much pride, right? When international players went in there, right? For people who have not had much, Aussie experience, whether they they don't have a mate who's Australian or have never been to Australia, you just feel such an immense pride showcasing your country, your people. That's why I'm like so bummed. Like, one of the things, of all the things to be bummed about, I know, this is not going to be, top of, everyone's list, but, we really just can't wait, because I think it was worth the wait, with the right partner that we have with them and the property. So I hope we're there in April next year.
Certainly, yeah, hopefully. I mean, what is the plan moving forward, Ange, for Australian events at this stage with the WPT?
Well, if COVID didn't happen this year, we were supposed to be there March, April of this year. We were supposed to be there this month. That would have been, really cool. But, I see a couple on the offline space is what I'm talking about. We'll be really happy to have 2 or 3 stops there every calendar year. So that's the current plan.
And I dare say that the WPT will be looking to work rather closely with not only current and possibly future casino partners, but also with the WPT League. Of course, Mitch Caton,
Yes.
I guess in his shows, had great success in his own right, just
Yeah.
on that recreational
Yep.
/ mid-tier level with the QPCs. I mean, that it's as strong as a brand as it is. There's been no doubt that there'll be closer collaboration with him in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was the plan, right? So you guys are poker players. Poker should, needs to be consumed on, on multiple fronts. You want to consume poker via television, that's fine. You want to consume it, via, the WPT League format. You have $500 burning in your pocket. There's a WPT 500. You got 10 grand. There's a main tool sub. So caters for every bankroll. And with the WPT League, over here in Australia, it was a perfect feeder system. We were able to touch grassroots players. I do believe that, when, everything goes, okay here in Australia, they're going to be very prominent in our efforts to have WPT available to every bankroll in Australia.
And I've also noticed the WPT has been, aside from Australia, it's been pretty active around Asia the past couple of years, spreading into, as you said, Tokyo, India, just the whole region has been quite active. Why is that? What's been the reason behind that?
I think it's, we like poker, not just the WPT, to be consumed on all fronts, right? As I was saying, if you're a viewer, if you're a spectator, just a fan, a player, and that sort of thing. And I think the Asia Pacific region really is, in a lot of respects, untouched, right? Of course, there's been a lot of poker there in that region and that sort of thing, but it's, Danny's, integration into the WPT family has been really instrumental in that part. He's, I think, in a lot of people's minds, he is really the foremost expert, when it comes to, every facet of the business over there, casino partners, the media, the players, all of those connections and relationships and partnerships that he's had, over a good number of years is really good. And obviously, our then parent company, had a footprint, over in the Asia region. And so, yeah, I think that would explain why we've enjoyed, really blessed with some successes over here in the Asia Pacific.
I guess we should talk a bit about Mike Sexton too, and very tragic to hear of his passing. Legend of the industry. Can you tell us a bit about what he meant to you and your memories of him?
Gosh, I worked alongside Mike before I joined WPT, when I was still with Party Poker over at the Party Poker Cruise. And man, like even from then on, he's really just one of a kind. He truly, truly is, and before he left, so I was with, I had the fortune of working alongside him over at Party, and then I get WPT and, he's there. So that was a bloody huge bonus. And then just over the years, the road trips that we had all around the world, and he's just so fun. He really is. Like he would, with his age, right? He would be like probably the last people to get off a dance floor in any country that we traveled, right? He's just an awesome dancer. He's, he could outdance anybody, half his age, three-quarters of his age, whatever it was. And, just such a privilege to have known him. Like, I don't know if you guys, were able to have a look at the tribute that, we were fortunate enough to have been given the blessing of the family. We can't really thank them enough, Karen, his brothers and sisters, to have given us, so much of the inside of the family. Because obviously we know Mike Sexton from the TV, from his book. If you've managed to travel, and seen him on the road and stuff like that, but to get an insight of what he meant to people who is not in our world, right? To see those pictures and to see those videos, it's just phenomenal. It really is. And legend gets thrown around, a little bit too loosely these days, one of a kind, but I challenge anyone to name a person that can elicit that kind of, love, respect, and adoration. I mean, that tribute that Matt Savage did, that went for 7 hours. We kicked off at 6:20. We had our, our tribute online. And then straight away around about 6:30 Los Angeles time, Vegas time, the celebration, Share Your Stories with Mike, began. It didn't finish until 1:30 in the morning, and people are, I was part of the list of like the speakers, like just to share some stories and stuff. And there was 100 people behind me, like waiting to speak. And so mine was like, I wanted to share so many stories, and I was so conscious because, just because I'm WPT, I'm not gonna, just take up, space and air. It's just so many. So, when Europe woke up the next day, it was the Europeans' time to like share stories and stuff. And, Aussies were there, Tony Hashem, was so lovely in his, sharing of stories. And so, yeah, I don't know, guys, it is a real loss. None of us, would know poker the way it is now if it was not for that man. And I'm not saying that because I love him and, I was fortunate enough to have spent time with him. But when you think about it, right, him telling the world mainstream sponsorship about poker at that time, that's unheard of. Like, we owe so much to that man. And there's no one else that's gonna be like him.
That's right. I think I'm like everybody is that, I remember my first exposure to poker, like so many people around the world, was watching a WPT with Mike commentating late at night, and just that voice, that's,
Yes.
and so I would not be sitting here talking to you now if I hadn't fallen in love with the game for the first time watching late. That's one of the great legacies. And as you say, the fact that so many people came on to talk about him, but not just about that legacy, about, him, the man.
Yes.
And I remember just, I didn't know Mike well at all, but when I sat down with him, the one time I met him, he gave me, I think, an hour and a half just sitting at a poker table in Manila, talking about, stories. So that was the sort of guy he was.
You meet in my role and in my job, I meet so many people from all walks of life, and he had this innate sense of just making you feel like you are the only one that matters when he speaks to you. And he could be in a room full of people, but there's something about him that just, it's like a magnet. Like he makes you feel like you really matter. And and he doesn't know you. You could be from Toowoomba or North Dakota or over in Korea or something. The same level of magic that he gives to you is present to everyone else that he interacts with. It's just so special. I just I had the real fortune. One of the things that I absolutely treasured is during the last couple of weeks of his life, we were texting. That's priceless. I can't, the other day I was just looking at it, and I'm never going to get a text from him, ever again. But I look at that and it just brings me so much happiness. And, yeah, I'm glad that that we're talking about him, because obviously we are part of this industry. And, and again, like not, if I just want the credit where the credit is due, and that man, is so instrumental. And I hope that, future generations that are involved in our industry have that sort of reverence for him, because he really deserves it. Really, truly deserves it.
I guess talking about the industry as a whole, Ange, and just as we finish this podcast with you,
Yeah.
but as we said before, I mean, this has been an amazingly challenging year for everybody, 2020, and for the poker industry has been among the gambling industry as a whole has been very hard hit around the world. But we're starting to see innovation and people trying to find a way around this. I mean,
Yes.
One thing I think that I've seen from the poker industry is this resilience and this, we'll find a way forward. I mean, what do you think the next 12, 18 months will hold for the global poker industry as a whole?
Yeah, I think obviously we have to treat it on a country by country basis. For us, we're actually just looking at it on a continent level, right? The reason why we were able to host a WPT Japan in Tokyo, the reason why hopefully everything going good, we'll be over in Taiwan in December, an offline event, is that I think Asia Pacific region, kind of really has it in control. They have measures in place. Like they're not, maybe it's from their experience in when SARS broke out there. I think that gave them a very, a head start, if you want to call it that way, in managing these types of issues. And then I think it's going to go just on a continent basis. We just have to get used to it. So, things like temperature check before you enter, a property, masks in place, being, socially distant. A lot of our global casino partners are already doing that now. And so I think as more global casino partners, not just ours, but, all around the world, they'll adopt those types of health and safety measures. And I think, we'll see a resurgence. Certainly, that's the hope. And, I think we'll just, we'll get it right. We'll get it right. We'll get there.
All right, Ange. Well, look, it's been awesome talking to you, and hopefully we can catch up in person sometime in the near future when the borders open again.
Yes, well, you're over in Sydney. You're like not what, 45 minutes away from me, and maybe Landon and I will hop on a plane and see you. If it's not this year, then please, when we happen to be over at the Star Gold Coast, next year, I'd love to have a beer or two with you guys in person. That'll be awesome.
I, for one, simply cannot wait. Ange, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show with us. Thank you so much. Wishing you and all the WPT team all the best. It's
thank you.
And yeah, as you say, I think that we are seeing so much resilience from the industry as a whole, and I think that with any luck, we'll bounce back just that one time. Yeah, just that one time. That continues on, right? Your run good just keeps on going. That's what we want, right? 100%.
All I want is a 50-year one time. That's it.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.